Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at loops in Python again, but this time we're going to be looking at a different sort of loop. And this is a while loop. And a while loop just keeps repeating, unlike a for loop, which repeats for a specified number of times. So while a condition is true, it will do something. And there's no item this time, unlike in the for loop. So if we give an example, let's say we want to draw a circle in Python Turtle. Well, first we're going to import Turtle. Then we'll create a while loop. So I'll just say while true, because true is always true. And then we'll just say, and we'll go left 1 degree and forward 1 pixel. And as you can see, it's just going to go round. But once it arrives back at the start, it keeps going round, unlike the circle function, because it's still looking at the condition, which is true, and so it's continuing to go around. And this will continue forever unless I just close it or use a keyboard interrupt. As we can see, it's being terminated. So maybe we don't want this to be while true and we want to have some sort of condition. So maybe I'll just change it so that we go forwards 10. And this way the turtle is just going to go across the screen. And so maybe we just want it to be within a certain range. And with the turtle, you can actually get an x coordinate. So I'll just say, well, the x coordinate, which is a function, and is less than, say, 250, then we go forward 10. And there it's kept going until its x coordinate has reached 250. And this might be useful if you were, for example, to do a spiral, in which case you want the distance from the center to remain less than a certain value. But one thing we had in our while loop is we had an infinite loop. And with while loops, it's very easy to get an infinite loop. So if we have another completely different example, so if we have a number, and so our number will be an integer and the input of what is your number. And then we'll say while the number is less than 100, we'll print the number, and then we'll increase the number. So we'll say the number is equal. We add 1. And so if we run this, and we pick the number 20, it's going to print all the way up to 99, because 100 is not less than 100. And then, if we try it again, and pick 200, you can see that it doesn't do anything. But this was, for example, greater than instead of less than, and we pick number 10, then it immediately finishes because 10 is not greater than 100. But if we pick the number 150, then it's just going to print forever unless you do Control-C or Control-Z, which are keyboard interrupts. And you can actually write programs that ignore keyboard interrupts, so they just run forever. If you take your operating system, there's no point when your operating system stops and your computer is running, and that's because it's in a while true loop. But if we wanted to guess the person's number, so we can change this. Instead of asking what their number is, we figure it out. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at actually coding a program that will guess your number. So to start off, I'm going to just import time because we'll need it later. And we're going to start by having a min value, which is equal to 0, and a max value, which is equal to 100. And you could change these if you wanted to change your program. Print, please pick a number between, then put the min, then max, and then we'll just sleep for 5 seconds so they have time to think of a number. Maybe that doesn't need to be 5 seconds, but it gives people time at least. Then we'll have a guess, and the guess is going to be the average of the minimum and the maximum. But we don't want it to actually be the average because we want it to always be an integer, and so we'll make it almost the average. So because it's floor division, it will round it down. Could round it up or use the round function, and then we need some kind of state, and I'll set the state to wrong. So the start, we don't know. We haven't made any guesses, so we can't be correct yet. And so while the state is not equal to correct, so we haven't guessed it correctly, this is where we want to try and guess the number. And so first we'll set the state equal to the input, I guess, and then our guess. And because this is input rather than print, we have to add the strings together rather than just using commas. And there's the guess. And on the new line, is my guess correct? And then one simple way to do this is to use a yes or no value, which means that this indicates that you want them to either enter a yes or a no. And that's kind of standard in most programs, especially where you have a command line rather than a user interface. And so we want to make sure that the state is y or n, because if they input something else, that's wrong. And then one thing we might also want to do so that they can enter something slightly different, for example, capital Y, capital N, or they could have spaces. We're then going to strip this, removes any white space, so spaces or tabs, at the beginning or end of the input, and then we'll also want to make it lowercase. And so now we know that the state is lowercase and hasn't got white space around it. And then while the state is not equal to, then y, and at the same time it's not equal to n, so in that case they've entered something else, then we'll set the state equal to the input, please enter y for yes and n for no. And we know that if they then input a correct answer, it will then mean that this is false and continue with our code. And so if the state is y, then we want the state to be equal to correct. And that means that this here will no longer be true. It will exit this while loop and do something else. But otherwise, we need to find out if we're too high or too low. So now, state is equal to a different input, and it's is your number, so the number that we're asking them to guess, higher or lower. And then we'll do a similar thing before, have H and L this time though, and again we'll strip and then lower. And then again we can use the same thing as before, except this time instead of being y or n, it's H or L. And here we can actually use a similar message as well. So H for higher and L for lower. And then if state is H, so if it's higher, then our minimum value is too low, and so we set the minimum value equal to the guess. otherwise set the maximum value equal to the guess. And then we need to adjust our guess, and so we can just use this code again, and we set our guess equal to the average of the min and max, and then we make sure it's an integer. And then when we've guessed correctly, we print, I guessed your number. And so we can try this out with a few values. So I'll start with the number 10, and so I'll run it. And so 50 is not correct, and my number's lower, so we'll go down. 25 is also not correct, it's lower. 12 is not correct, and it's lower. 6 is not correct, but this time it's higher. 9 is not correct again, and it's higher. And 10 is correct. So guess my number. And so now we tested that it works, but now we might also want to test that these bits here don't work. So we'll pick 10 again, and this time we'll say that it's not correct. And so it hasn't worked. Maybe we could try capital N for a few spaces afterwards. And so we can see that here we've got an error. And that's because even though we've done this here, we haven't done it here. So we can just adjust our code. And so if we type in N, it will finally work. And maybe here we want to type in capital L with a few spaces, and that's worked. And we could try it normally as well to check that the main bit's still working. Here we could type in no, and then no, and then no, and it will keep doing this until we type in N, and it's lower. And 6 is not. And again, we can say that it's higher. 9, again not correct, it's higher. And then 10 is correct. So guess the number. So now that we've corrected it, we can check that those errors are fixed. So again, we'll pick 10. So 50 is not correct, but we can type in no. We can put capital N in this time, and it's fixed the error. Try it here. And so now we've actually automatically entered a wrong number. And so now we've actually entered the wrong answer. And so we'll see how the program handles when we put in the wrong answer, in a sense. So if we keep saying the guess isn't correct, and we try and get down to 10, see now it's guessing 50. And it's going to keep guessing 50. And so maybe we want to add in something where if the max and the min are equal, we've got some sort of error. And so maybe we want to extend this to state it's correct. And then also, and well, the state is not error. So if at some point the state is error, then we'll do something different at the end. So here, we'll check if min is equal to max, in which case we're always going to guess ascending again. Then we'll set the state equal to error, and so it will break here. But here, if we get an error, we won't have guessed the number. So we say if the state is correct, then we print I guessed your number. and here we can see something went wrong, and it means that our program has ended. However, I think there are a couple of things that would make the code a bit nicer. So if we change this between 0 and 1 and then run it, and we're going to pick 1, and so 0, is that correct? No, and the number's higher, and it's guess 0 again. And so this is an error that we should probably fix. So keyboard interrupt and then modify the code. So instead of setting min equal to the guess, we should set it equal to the guess plus 1, and likewise with the max, we should subtract 1. Because we know that they're all integers, and in this case it was setting the min back to 0, and so it would just keep running and not break the loop. However, then if we run it again, and again we'll pick the number 1, is 0 is the no, and it's higher, and it says something went wrong, because now the minimum guess is 1, and so the min is equal to the max, and so we get an error. So instead, we want to put that before we change it, and then we'll run it, and we'll pick 1, and so 0 is not correct, it's higher, and that is correct. But now we'll try it where that's not the case, and we'll try and make it not work. So again, I'll pick 1, and if you guess 0, then that's not correct, and we'll say it's higher, and 1, and we'll say that's not correct, and the number's higher, and there it says something went wrong. And we could try a few different variations. We could put this back so that it's got a wider range. If you want a challenge, you could try counting the number of guesses that it will take. And if you want a challenge that involves for loops, you could create a for loop that figures out how many guesses you require to guess the number in any situation. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Guess the number, and I'll see you again same time next week. Till then.